Welcome to the Hollywood Raw podcast. I'm Dax Holt. Over there is Adam Glyn. We have a great episode coming up for you today. We are going to get into one of the most fascinating people in Hollywood, someone whose name you have probably never even heard of, but is pulling all the strings over at Paramount. His name is Taylor Sheridan. He is the big guy behind Yellowstone and so many other big shows on Paramount. And he is having a bit of a struggle over right now, might be leaving, but we want to get into what this man has accomplished over the last few years, why he has so much power, how much money he is making, and into his whole story. Because honestly, Adam was the one who brought this to me, and I'm like, oh, wow, this is actually like a really fascinating topic that I think the audience would really dig. Just, you know, the power struggle that now studios are having with these huge writers, these huge producers that are almost out producing studios, and they have now lost control of lost their control. So we're going to get into that. We also want to talk about how Hollywood's top publicists manage damage control. So when you have a story like this, where you've got a huge producer and they're leaving a network, how do PR agents actually fix this, control the narrative? And it's not even like this. It's with a cheating scandal, with someone saying bad words online. How do they fix this? We're going to go through the PR playbook and why everyone has a podcast these days. So stick around. We're going to get into all of this and so much more. Adam, how are you, buddy?
I'm good. You're right. Every single celebrity has. I don't even know if they're even actors or actresses anymore. They're just hawking some sort of business opportunity. They've become influencers themselves. We'll get all into that. I am doing well, Dax. Thank you for asking. I just got done watching. I'm like binge watching Tulsa King.
Have
you watched Tulsa King?
I haven't.
I would say the show is good. It's not great, but it's good enough to be interested and to like watch the show. It's there's some parts gets a little cheesy, but overall the show itself is good. Sylvester Stallone is, it's some ways like he doesn't even move his mouth. It's just like he's like and he says a conversation has like, he doesn't move. I don't know if it's like Botox or what it is, but it's like I'm entertained enough to keep watching it. Is it the best show I ever saw? No. Is it, I'm a sucker for like mob sort of shows, and it's a dumb enough mob show and good enough that it's actually watchable. So I would recommend you. I know I'm probably late. It's like 4 seasons already. I'm catching up into it. By the way,
yeah,
I have a lot of the streamers, Dax. I don't know about you. I like Paramount Plus. I think Paramount Plus is like one of my favorite ones.
Yeah,
I don't have it, but the guy I use has it.
Don't say that. Don't say that.
Never mind. But yeah, I like.
Just kidding,
Paramount
guys.
Plus.
He's joking.
Just joking. Don't ruin it for me. I do enjoy Paramount Plus. It is fun. It is a good streamer. But I'm watching Tulsa King, and now it's interesting because Taylor Sheridan, Dax. You weren't familiar with this guy, but you were sort of familiar with this guy. I'm this familiar, guy is fascinating.
I know his work, and I think everyone knows his work, but not everyone necessarily knows the name. I would say that as you introduced me to him, I started to realize, oh wow, he's like a Shonda Rhimes. He's like Tyler Perry. Like he is one of the biggest, most successful people in Hollywood. His name just isn't as famous as some of these other. Ryan Murphy, he's just not as famous as them. But this Paramount scandal, might make him a household name.
Well, here's the thing. This is what fascinates me, Dax, about this guy Taylor Sheridan. Okay, first of all, the guy was an actor. He was an actor in Hollywood. He's done decent amount of roles. He was like in Sons of Anarchy, Walker, Texas Ranger, Veronica Mars, CSI, NCIS. So the guy was working as an actor, especially in his 30s, and he's not crushing it. He's still trying to make money, Dax. And then all of a sudden he's getting to a point where he's like getting to the age where he's like, I can't really live as an actor. I have to he's living check to check as an actor. So he decides to get into writing. At 40 years old, he's like, all right, he's frustrated. I'm going to become a screenwriter. He writes a project. He writes a script called Sicario back in 2015. It's a tense, thriller type script, and it's sold right away, actually pretty quick, which is sort of hard. and it sold, and it got made a movie with Emily Blunt, Benicio del Toro, Josh Brolin, which, again, it did pretty well. And then he wrote Hell or High Water and Wind River. Hell or High Water earned him an Oscar nomination and Best Original Screenplay. Wind River was the first film he directed himself and proved he could do more than write. So all of a sudden, like, people are starting to take a liking to this guy. So it happened all pretty quick. This guy, Taylor Sheridan's like, wait, this guy was an actor. Now he's a writer.
I bet if you asked him, he wouldn't say it was quick, because all the acting that leads up to something like this, that's years that you're investing, that nothing's really hitting. And it takes something like a shift of focus of, okay, I don't want to be the actor anymore. I'm relying on too many other people to get work. Let me be the one in control. So keep going. Sorry.
So the guy starts to, develop his own projects. He develops Yellowstone, which we all know Yellowstone was a huge success. They made this show. The crazy part about Yellowstone, Dax, is they filmed this at his ranch. Not all of it, but he and some investors got a huge ranch, and like acres and acres and acres. I don't know how many acres, but
I saw it was like 220,000 acres. Like, this is not a small plot of land. It is a massive, massive piece of land that they have been filming on, and it is just crazy.
Yeah, I just looked up. It's over 260,000 acres of. So he actually owns it with a group of investors. So what they do is, they film a lot of his shows on this ranch. Not all of it, but they film a lot of it on this ranch. The crazy part is when they shoot on his ranch, the studio has to rent the ranch from him. So he makes money, which is great. Like, he's making money on that. But ultimately, it came down to the success of the show, and the show was hugely successful. But I think he had a little bit of beefs with the network itself. I think I heard Paramount got frustrated by like the huge budgets, because the show Yellowstone, all the other shows they were costly, but they were great productions. But ultimately, they were costly.
The thing is here, he's got a show, and let's say some of his episodes were costing $20+ million. That's really expensive for an episode, right?
For a show, yeah.
Huge budget. But the problem was Paramount had lost control, because he is the writer, he is the producer, he is behind Yellowstone, he is behind, 1883, he's behind 1923, he's behind Linus, he's behind all of them, and they're all filming on his property. So what negotiation does Paramount have? Absolutely nothing. So when he says, I want to make a $20 million episode, and Paramount, you got to front the bill, what else are they supposed to say? You know what I'm saying? Like, so they're getting frustrated because the power dynamic has completely shifted from the studio having control to one person who is their golden goose, who is essentially the identity of the network, rests on that person's shoulder and all of their content. So now they are beholden to that person. That is where it has gotten really sticky with this situation.
Yeah, so he essentially built his own pretty much like Universal Studios, except without the dirt and the bull, but all the tram rides and stuff. But it's pretty incredible. But again, it gives him a lot of power and leverage. And now everyone is sort of, I wouldn't say everyone. There's rumors. I don't know if it's out there yet, if it's official, but it looks like he's going to be leaving Paramount Plus, because people want to take an investment in this guy. This guy hits home runs for every single show he does. And I don't know if it's a little bit, I guess he can make some projects a little bit cheaper. I guess I don't know what the tax wise filming where it is, but yeah, he
could easily make it cheaper if he was like, hey, we're on my land, I don't have to charge. It would instantly make your show cheaper, right? But why would he do that? It's a money-making piece of land. There's other investors, so he's making money, and he can charge. He can say, well, this one's going to cost $1 million to film. The next one, $3 million to film. Like, he can fluctuate his prices because he feels like it. It's his land. But
these guys, Dax, are but they are the most powerful people in Hollywood, because again, he owns the show, he owns the IP, and he already built up the brand where people are like, oh, they're obsessed with the brand. So he could take that wherever he wants. And everyone wants, when it comes to shows, it's so hard to make a show right now more than ever. The fear of AI, the costs of everything going on in the studios are buying studios. So it's hard to make a new project. And when it comes to making a new project, the first question people ask is who's attached to the show. And if
Yeah.
you say, oh, it's a Sheridan project, he's attached to the show, boom. I mean, that will get any meeting you want. At the end of the day, if you know that Taylor Sheridan is involved in the show, I think anyone would say yes. It just comes down to the cost. How much is this show going to cost to make?
But here's the bigger problem, the bigger picture with what we're talking about. Taylor Sheridan's creative control has made him too powerful for Paramount's comfort. That's really what it comes down to. He is now like he can consider other partnerships, and Paramount then risks losing their most bankable asset at the company, which is Taylor Sheridan. If he leaves, so does all of their massive shows that get people tuning in to Paramount, paying a subscription, doing the whole thing. He could pull a Shonda Rhimes, leave quote unquote ABC, take all the big content, and then go start up a Netflix show, or take all their content to Netflix, and next thing you're just making tons of cash, and it would be huge for him. Paramount probably has the most to lose out of this very sticky situation that they put themselves in.
Yeah, so for instance, Shonda Rhimes left ABC for Netflix after, you ever hear the Disneyland ticket story? She asked ABC for an extra pass for her nanny, and they said, like, we can't do it. She's like, all right, cool, I'm out. And what does she do? She goes to Netflix and makes Bridgerton. Yeah.
Listen to that. Like, that ticket was, let's say, maximum $1,000 ticket, because I'm assuming they did the plaid at Disneyland and, like, you know, had the walk around, the VIP treatment. So let's say it was $1,000 ticket that they weren't willing to comp Shonda Rhimes, and they lost millions of dollars by losing her, and her walking over to Netflix, creating Bridgerton, and making Netflix millions and millions and millions. Like, damn, who the hell said no to that ticket?
Yeah, and the thing about Taylor, though, Dax, it's like he created an audience for a genre that people didn't know that there was a genre for, especially like now. Like he created I don't want to say he created. He realized he basically created shows that realized there's an audience that wants modern westerns, military thrillers, and political stories. He found an audience for that, and this audience is a big audience, and they all watch his projects, they all watch his shows, they watch the spinoffs. So yeah, this guy is, when you think of Tyler Perry, when you think of Shonda Rhimes, when you think of Ryan Murphy, this guy Taylor Sheridan, this guy is the guy, and he's making it from the middle of America. He's not in LA, he's not in New York. He's crushing it.
Like Amazon and Apple, they are just drooling right now at the idea of him truly leaving Paramount, because this has caused such a shitstorm between him and Paramount, and the news headlines, all this. I'm sure all the other big net platforms are just going, come to us. Because at the end of the day, Netflix, what do they say? Here, go ahead, make your shows, put them up here, and we'll just make a bunch of money together. You don't need the network per se, like Paramount is doing with their shows. Like, anything can be big on Netflix. So it could be really interesting how all of this unfolds over the next couple months.
So Dax, if you're Paramount Plus, would you hire a crisis PR company to handle this?
No, I would hire a big lawyer to figure out this contract with him, put some structure into place, and lock his ass down. You don't want to lose him. You lose him, you lose your flagship shows, you lose everything. That's not good.
See, I only asked you about the crisis PR thing because I put a thing, there was on Instagram, GQ put on, these are the crisis publicists of America, like the top crisis publicist people. And they put in the people they represent, like Harvey Weinstein and all these other people, Diddy, and they listed these people as the top crisis publicists by GQ. And
But
I wrote a comment.
I gotta say, I'm sorry, but if you were the person representing Cosby, you're the person representing Diddy, you done a shit job, because they still look terrible out there. That's not
Agreed.
the person you want on your resume. You want Johnny Depp. You want Ellen. You want people like that the narrative did shift back in their favor. And so it shows that they were able to avoid this crisis. Taylor Swift, avoid this crisis PR, complete fall off of the map, and everyone hates them to this day. Like, sorry, you can't say that with Diddy and Cosby. That's not or Weinstein. Not a good example.
Totally agree with you. And I think also this is what I did. It's I commented on it and say, hey, labeling yourself as a crisis PR as a crisis PR company is bad PR. That's my opinion on it. Because if someone hires a crisis PR company, I'm like, oh, they must have fucked up, because why can't their normal publicist just handle this? But Dax, I was curious, you've worked in a newsroom.
Yeah.
How do crisis PR teams work, behind closed doors? Like what did they do that a normal PR team doesn't do?
So I would say, I guess let's just break it down into like the normal steps, right? I think the normal thing.
Well, I'll set you up. Oh shit! A scandal hits. What happens?
So that, like you said, first thing, it's the first call. Whether that call is coming from the celeb themselves saying, "Hey, this is about to break. I just got a call from TMZ. They're about to air a story," or hey, I just got into a car accident, or hey, I just got arrested, or, from their team, whatever. That initial, like, here's what's going on. So the first thing they do is the PR company is notified, and they assemble a team, and they say, okay, first we need to find out what exactly has happened. Who all knows? What agency out there in the public is about to break this news? Like, let's get all the details. So the first goal is containment. Find out what's true, who knows, what's going out to the public, and then if there is a media outlet like the Daily Mail or People Magazine or TMZ who have directly reached out, now it's like, okay, let's negotiate timing, let's negotiate wording, and if you can give us a heads up before it like goes live, because this is all really important information for the crisis PR team. So then it's like, okay, now that we have all this in place, next thing is we need to script a response. And this is any PR company out there, don't let them tell you any different. They're all going to start crafting the official response. They know that it's going to air on some website or some TV show. Let's just have something. The official response is going to be short. It's going to be vague. It's most likely going to have some kind of quote in it. It's going to be, emotional enough, but like still sound authentic. Like they're gonna do the little spin, and these are the ones that you hear all the time. Like, so and so is taking time to reflect. So and so is spending time with loved ones. Like, that is a scripted response that is used in almost every crisis PR. And it's like,
oh, it's the same thing.
Yeah, please give our so and so time and space, and blah, blah, blah. So that's like the scripted response that they have to put out there. I would say if it's really a bad situation and these celebs are getting just crushed in the public because they've said something really irresponsible, they've said something derogatory, homophobic, racist, anti-Semitic, like one of those big top ones that are going to kind of get you canceled. The next thing is the disappearing act. This is very common. You probably just didn't even notice that it happened. They put out their statement and then they just go away. Because one of the biggest things with the public is time really heals almost anything, right? Like they say that they say that about death. They say that about love. Like, time heals most wounds. It is the same thing when you have pissed off America. Go away, disappear, and then you tell people, oh, they're taking time to reflect, or you cancel some appearances, and whatever, you just disappear. Taylor Swift famously did this after the Kim and Kanye thing. She disappeared, and you didn't hear from her for almost a year. That is the textbook playbook of what you have to do when you want to make things go away. And then the next step is the comeback campaign, right? Like, that is,
we all love a comeback, yeah.
Because you have to now reintroduce yourself to the public. And so you've gone away, people have forgotten about the scandal, or maybe they haven't totally forgotten, but it's not top of mind. The headlines have calmed down, something else, some other scandal is broken. So they're not like thinking about you anymore. And then you start to do your reintroduction, and you do the like the friendly shows. You don't go on, like an interview on Jake Paul's podcast, right? Like, because that wouldn't go well. You go on
Yeah.
Oprah, you go on Fallon, you go on Kimmel, and you do one of those like friendly interviews where you're not going to get hit with like crazy hardball questions. You're not going to get set up. Maybe you do some public appearances like a red carpet, or you go to a food bank and you make sure that photos get taken of you handing out food to the needy. You do the like slow roll introduction, and you can really change the narrative to be about what you've learned, how you were humbled. I would say the biggest thing is letting the public know how the moment has changed you, because people want change. If you come back and you're not changed, you won't get back in, right? Like, people, they like remorseful, they like a comeback story. Everyone likes a comeback story. I mean, even the biggest haters of Lindsay Lohan always said, you know what though, but like, I really am rooting in the back of my mind for Lindsay to come back. And she came back, and now everyone accepts her, even though she had some of the craziest moments in Hollywood history. I think if Britney Spears rebounded tomorrow and became like totally coherent and wanted to go on tour, everyone would fucking love it, because they want a comeback story. I don't know. Am I on the right track? Is this what you wanted to know?
Yeah, no, I would say my only notes is it's like there's a few things you can do. It's like getting ahead of the story,
Yeah.
So if someone's going to get ahead of it before, address it before the outlets do it, so you can kind of control the narrative.
Well,
let the
I would say,
especially, and there's some things especially when it comes into legal things,
Mhm.
that becomes public record. So my question to you, Dex, is like, okay, divorce, separation, bankrupt, or anything like that. How do you handle that when it's public record? Do you kind of break the news before anyone else does? Do you break with
Yeah.
an outlet? Like, what would you do?
Well, most times, let's be honest, the lawyers are calling up outlets and letting them know that this is about to be filed. So the second it's filed, it can be broken. Because here's the thing: when it comes to celebrity divorce, every celeb wants it to be so and so filed for divorce from the other person, right? Like, they always want their name in front and the headline, because they want to be the one who divorced the other person. And I've seen this 100 times in Hollywood. Both celebrities are racing, well, not them physically, but their lawyers are racing to the courthouse to file the paperwork so they can be the ones to say, Angelina Jolie filed for divorce from Brad Pitt, so that their name is first. It happens all the time in Hollywood. And back to your question, I think that at that moment, when it's like a big story, it's give them as little as possible. Or, a lot of these big celeb divorces, they lean into it. And then you start hearing from a lot of them. And then you start hearing all the like side stories. And we just heard this with Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban. It was every fourth story was about him being a cheater. Well, I think that is not surprising that came out on the heels of her filing for divorce from him, and then the subsequent little stories. I think her team was slowly leaking out a bunch of stuff to all the press, because that's how you control the narrative of this whole story.
So it's funny. I got a call last week. This is about Colin Jost and Pete Davidson. The story was, do I know anything about their ferry in Staten Island? And I was like, no, just because. So Colin Jost and Pete Davidson bought a ferry years ago. They were planning to put a hotel on it, make a comedy club on, make it like a whole entertainment ferry boat on the water in New York City. And they asked me if I knew anything. So I know nothing, but I do know that Pete is using a crisis PR company as his publicist.
Why?
And this was, I think in general, he's went through a lot of publicists. And I think now he's just kind of using this publicist as his regular
So,
publicist.
so just like a crisis PR is his
Yeah,
normal publicist because
that's his
it's
full
in a
timer.
constant
Yeah.
state of crisis.
Yeah. So this is one outlet called me regarding, hey, do I know anything on it? Which I didn't. But now TMZ now reports, another outlet says, hey, Colin Joseph, Pete Davidson, we're the kings of Staten Island Ferry and we're not selling. Now, this is them getting ahead of the story. Okay. This is the story of them selling this ferry never came out, but they want to, the publicist, Pete, Colin, they want to get ahead of this story. They go to another outlet before that other outlet could write the story and say, hey, we're not selling our ferry. We're all in. We're going to make this thing work. So now that other outlet can't write this story. Does that make sense?
Yep. Yeah, you got to get in
Okay.
front of it. So I would say, here's the thing. There are unwritten rules of Hollywood PR. I think the number one is just never deny what is probably true. Just don't even address the rumors, kind of just work around them. And I would say if the story involves legal action, let lawyers take over because you don't want to try to F with that. Going back to what I said before, time heals everything. So just keep your head high and keep silent and wait for it all to blow over because it will. And redemption. Wait for that redemption moment.
Dax, who are some celebrities that had some PR missteps, would you say?
PR missteps are people that it actually kind of worked. Because I can give you, like, I'm thinking of someone else who it actually worked on.
Who's that?
I would say it worked with Will Smith.
Okay, explain.
So I would say after the whole infamous slap at the Oscars when he slapped Chris Rock, obviously that was the biggest crisis PR moment. The dude literally wins an Oscar on the same night, slaps Chris Rock, and it was like rejected from Hollywood immediately, right? Like the next day, he put out some vague apology. Love makes you do crazy things. And then it was like, that wasn't enough. It like the backlash just kept growing and growing and growing. And then he kind of followed it up with some written formal apology and then kind of did that weird like staged YouTube video where it's like, it's been a minute and it was emotional. It was controlled. And then he disappeared. And I can tell you that's when I was like, okay, finally someone got to him and said, Will, you need to stop. You need to stop because they didn't control the narrative enough at the beginning. They could have controlled it right from the start. He didn't have the right team in place. It probably took a couple days. They tried to do that YouTube video. It all backfired. And then he disappeared. And he was out of view for months and months and months. And he was just kind of like quietly stepping away from projects. And then 6 months later, he pivoted and he did the redemption model. And he's just said they started putting out positive family stories. The new film, Emancipation, they did a press tour and it was all focused on him healing. And that's when I was like, and he followed the playbook to the T. And now you're starting to see Will Smith getting like welcome back into the good graces. He does a lot of
sort of.
I would say
sort of
from where he was rejected. No one wanted to talk to him. No one wanted to work with him. And then he started doing all of these like fun Instagram, TikTok videos and slowly like making his way back in. You can't do this fast. You can't just expect to go get kicked out of Hollywood and then just show back up the next day. It is a long process of working your way back into the good graces of people. And I feel like it is working with Will Smith.
See, the PR success of any celebrity I've ever witnessed is the Johnny Depp situation. When Johnny Depp and Amber Heard were going through the trial back in 2022, both actors accused each other of abuse. The trial became a media circus. It was nuts. It took over our algorithms. It took over our TV, our internet. It was everywhere because you're hearing so much about these two in their private life. Some videos were released. It was pretty insane. But Johnny Depp's PR team launched a reputation restoration campaign, and they really used fan loyalty and
Big
victimhood,
time.
but ultimately it came down
time.
to like fan loyalty. And Johnny Depp fans are very, very loyal, as you saw. I mean, this whole campaign ran on pretty much social media strategy and went on public opinion, sort of what's going on with the Justin Baldoni, Blake Lively situation. But the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard case relied solely on public opinion. And, what helped Johnny Depp was the fan content and influencers. There's people dedicating that month of that case, just creating content around that court case. Most of it was pretty biased in Johnny's situation, I would say, because they knew what was getting clicks. His team framed the trial as his comeback, not a scandal.
Well, I think the basis of that trial with him going, there's going to be a lot of embarrassing information, but I would rather do the trial to clear my name than to shy away from it and hide and leave Hollywood. And they took that model and pushed it out into the public. And like you said, it was a total PR strategy move when it came to social media. All these bloggers, all these people started having like pro Johnny Depp type content, and it really fueled the narrative of like, oh, this guy's innocent, he's being blackmailed by this woman, like all of this stuff. And they weaponized the public opinion, and it worked. It really worked in his favor. And then next thing you know, he's doing Dior photo shoots and ads and like all these things, and going to the Cannes Film Festival and making appearances and doing a music tour. And it was like he completely rehabbed his image like that.
Yeah, but Dax, these are all Will Smith, Johnny Depp. These are the PR success stories. Has there been some PR blunders that you could think of? Have you heard of one that you're like, man, they didn't follow the game plan. It just didn't work out, and ultimately, like, yeah, they hired
I mean, Kanye West. I mean,
yeah. I don't know
there's
if you
no
can fix
one
that
who,
one.
yeah, there's no one who has done a worse job than Kanye West. But I would say when he started kind of going crazy and just saying a lot of anti-Semitic shit and just getting off his rocker, don't you remember he was going through PR people like left and right, and he would hire one and then they would quit, and then he would hire one and they would quit. He couldn't keep a crisis PR agency even if he tried. His behavior was too erratic. There was all this brand backlash. And so it really shows you the difference between someone who works with professionals, keeps his statements without to themselves without escalating them. Kanye did the opposite, and it started costing him billion-dollar partnerships. Adidas, Balenciaga, like everyone started to scatter to the wind because he didn't have a controlled message. And I think half of that is just because Kanye West is uncontrollable, and he's erratic, and he is spontaneous and just can't control himself. So like, that's the problem. When you are a PR agency, you need someone who can shut their mouth, disappear, follow instruction, because if they're not going to follow your instruction on how to fix this, they're unhelpable. And so I think that's why he lost so many PR people directly after. And so there you go. He lost his empire mostly because he had no crisis PR helping him get out of all of the crazy shit he's been saying.
Yeah, I think this was 2018. Roseanne Barr comes back. The Roseanne Show comes back to TV. And I'll be honest with you, Dex, I watched the first episode. I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was great. I was like, oh, this show is getting like, it's actually funny for a sitcom. Because it sounds weird. I don't know if sitcoms like can exist anymore with the whole audience in the background, a laugh track they put to it, but the show was actually funny. And then all of a sudden, Roseanne posted a racist comment about Valerie Jarrett. The ABC cancels the show immediately, which a lot of people lost their jobs. I mean, it just became a whole thing. But
Well,
then
didn't they like cancel the show, but then like they just did the show
they
without
tried to do it
her?
around her. Yeah, they
Yeah.
tried doing it around her, but it just didn't work.
Yeah.
That's what thing is like. They can't. She got fired from the show. They tried doing the show without her, and they realized it just doesn't work. They did do. There was like a weak apology, but it basically destroyed any comeback. ABC is like, we're done. Like this just
That, and
ruined
you
everything.
ruined all your relationships with all your coworkers and co-stars because you totally effed them over. And they all had to turn their back on her and say, nope, we want to still have a show without her.
But now all these people do podcasts, so they all found work somehow. that's where it's come to. I mean, I think of like these we've been doing a podcast for a long time. When we started to do the podcast, it wasn't like every single celebrity was doing a podcast. Now, if you're a celebrity, you have to add it to your resume. Does that piss you off a little bit that they all started doing it and now they're doing it? Because I'll say this was what bothers me. Me and you do a podcast. We've been doing this for a couple of years now. I know we've been
doing this for a fucked long time right now.
Yeah, this is pre-COVID, all that stuff. But I know we have a large, loyal audience. I do, and I thank you guys for that. And I know we have a bigger audience than some of these celebrities. But because they're a celebrity, they get a little bit more ad deals and stuff. They might get more sponsors than we do. I mean, it doesn't.
That stuff.
I'm not losing sleep over it, but it's just like, damn,
that stuff doesn't.
We worked so hard to get an audience, make a good show, and here they are. Here's these random people doing a podcast, and I know we have a larger audience, but because they're celebrities, they will get sponsors more than we do.
And that's all good. I think my thing is, I just wish people could hear our podcast. Like, you say a big famous name, everyone tunes in, but I'm like, I feel like we got a really good show, and I feel like a lot of people enjoy our stuff because it is some of it's inside baseball, pulling back the curtain on Hollywood. Like, we give out a lot of interesting information, and that's what the biggest feedback that I get from people I run into on the streets that love the podcast or the private Facebook group or whatever. And I just want to be like, other people, come listen to it. And because, we're not crazy famous, we don't get that easy listener. Like, we have to work for all of the people that we get into here, word of mouth.
Well, yeah, it's
people telling friends, all of that.
Yeah, but we don't have Spotify or Apple or some studio pushing us like they would with some of these other shows. And it's crazy because, again, we already have a great audience and a loyal audience. I'm very appreciative of that. But we're not getting pushed by Apple. We're not getting pushed by Spotify like some of these celebrities who get their shows. And it's, why.
It is what it
part of me
is.
is like wondering why they would do it. I guess there's not as many jobs in Hollywood anymore. And podcasts, believe it or not, is one of the easier jobs to do and get, and anybody could do it. But also I wouldn't say as a guy who's doing it, I'm not gonna say it's an easy job, but when these guys realize like, hey, there's plenty of work out there and they could do it. Yeah. Why not do it? They could promote their personal brand. They can maintain fan connection. Like, I get why they're doing it. It just,
what I've realized though, is
if
you are not consistent, people will disappear. And what I've seen with a lot of celebs is they put out an episode, and then 2 weeks later, they put in an episode. And then a week later, they put out one. And then 4 months go by and they put out one. If you're not consistent, you will never grow that audience. Even though you have a name or you think that you're special, if you aren't consistent with this stuff, people disappear. I think Friday was probably the first time in our entire podcasting careers that we didn't have an episode out. And it was just technical difficulty after technical difficulty. But our audience, I think, easily forgives because we are so consistent with our podcast. And that is what has kept our audience growing over the years.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny with podcasts now I got a call from Maury Povich's show. Mm-hmm. And they asked me like, hey, can we hire you to help us bring in guests for our show? I don't think I'm going to do it because it's a fucking mess there, dude. Like, it's not Maury, it's the people behind the show. They're like, they can't get their things together. But then I'm thinking about Maury Povich's career, talk show host. And it's funny how, like, we grew up with Sally Jesse Raphael, Oprah, Phil Donahue, Ricky Lake, Jerry Springer, Richard Bay, if you remember Richard Bay, all these talk shows on TV that they controlled daytime TV. Now, talk shows are just non-existent. They're nothing. Like, they're
you have what, two? You have like Kelly Clarkson
and Sherry. I don't know. Like, they're barely. They're hanging on. They're hanging on because most people rather watch these interviews or these people do more long form content.
No, the problem is people want content when they want it. They don't want to wait until 10 a.m., 1 p.m. to watch the show. They go, hey, I've got a half-hour drive right now as I'm dropping my kid off at school, I'd like to tune in and listen, or I've got a couple minutes in between here, I want to check it out. So people don't want to wait for the time slot that ABC decides they get to watch a show. That's why all of these Instagram shows, podcasts, social media, all of it is booming, is because it is at the people's fingertips for whenever they want to consume it. That's why all the TV shows are dying off.
And I also think it's, for a star, it's so much easier more than ever, because no one wants to live in LA anymore. I think people do. They want to live in LA. They wish they could live in LA, but financially, it's not the best investment. It's hard to film a project in LA because the cost of it. That's why a lot of people are shooting in Jersey, when Netflix opened up a studio in Jersey, because the tax benefit. So people like Matthew McConaughey, Taylor Sheridan, like we mentioned, they could stay in Texas. They don't have to be in LA. They're saving millions and millions of dollars.
Well, you know what made that possible is COVID. COVID,
True.
As horrible as it was, there were some small little glimmers of like, oh, spending time with family. How about getting to use Zoom? Remember, you couldn't like miss meetings. You had to be in meetings. Well, now when I was doing live shots for TV shows before COVID, I used to have to drive to LA, sit in the studio, like drive up there for an hour, hour and a half, sit in the studio for a 5-minute hit, drive all the way back. I would waste 4 hours of my day to do a live shot. And now it like COVID made it possible of like, it's okay to stream into a TV show. It's okay to see your bedroom in the back of a shot and no one thinks twice about it. There was a lot of things that got opened up because of people's acceptance after COVID.
Yeah, it's, I get it. I think some of these people, a Letterman, for example, if he could have done his, like Howard Stern, he doesn't even come to the studio anymore for his show. He comes in for like Jennifer Lopez and Bruce Springsteen, but like now he's doing it from his basement. I mean,
why not?
Incredible is that?
Sounds amazing.
It's a no-brainer. Hopefully we keep, hopefully one of these platforms will push us and we can get to that point where, they'll just kind of throw us up on the algorithm a little more. I don't need to.
Come on, just throw us around the algorithm.
Push us a little bit. I know, or just put us on a Taylor Sheridan project. We'll make it work. Thank you guys for watching. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you guys like and subscribe. Check out our private Facebook group, Off the Record. It's a fun community. We all talk to each other. Let us know in our private Facebook group if you're going to be at BravoCon. Dax is going to be there. You guys can meet up with Dax and say hi. He's going to be running around Most Rivers and some of the other Bravo stars.
We're heading out to Vegas in a week. Melissa and I are actively putting together all of our, outfits that we can sneak backstage in and without getting caught. We are trying to map out the whole convention center to see where we can, get through, use our powers that we combine to get through to the backstage so we can get the best interviews possible. I can't wait.
That's
she's
right.
Sneaky.
So let us know.
I love how sneaky she is.
She's fun.
She's as sneaky as you and I. And I mean, she's pretty famous. She's pretty damn recognizable, and she doesn't give a fuck, and it's so great. And
is she the type of person that would sneak into? Is she the type of person that would sneak into a movie theater like after she saw another movie?
Oh yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Okay, she can hang with us. That's my move. That's my move. But let us know if you're going to be at BravoCon in our private Facebook group, Off the Record. Leave a review if you haven't. Just go to Apple, Spotify, wherever you go. Just give us a review, say a few kind words, and we'll give you a shout out on the air. Follow me at Adam Glyn, follow Dax Holt at Dax Holt. We'll see you guys next week.
What's up, guys? If you like that video, there's plenty more where that came from.
Make sure you like, subscribe, hit the bell so we can just feed you all the goodness daily.
Hurry up. Come on, let's go.